warm welcome to all our viewers on this new episode of Law and Order. Today we bring to you a sensitive and crucial topic dealing with medico-legal issues. It's a very important medical subject in respect of crime, accidental deaths and unnatural deaths in society, which unfortunately are on the rise in our beautiful Goa. And to enlighten and educate our viewers, we have in our studios Goa's highly respected and much adored forensic medicine and toxicology expert Dr. Silvano Sapeco, the former professor of forensic medicine and toxicology department, Goa Medical College, the Government of Goa. Dr. Sapeco, welcome to our studios today. We are very happy to have you here, and our topic today, as you know, is medico-legal issues in Goa. Doctor, can you briefly tell us how many years have you served as a professor and head of forensic medicine and toxicology in the Goa Medical College?
14 years as professor and head, and overall in the government service of Goa government, 35 years.
Okay, that's a very long inning, am I right? How crucial is the role of a forensic expert in solving a murder mystery or any unnatural death that happens in society?
Before I actually answer this question, I want to tell you that, whatever drama occurs on the roadside has to be reenacted in the court by a chain of evidence. That is, various witnesses are needed. For example, the complainant or the person who saw the actual, he will be the first person to be examined. And that evidence is recorded by the police officer, and thereafter it is placed before the judge. And once the judge is convinced about the course of events that have taken place, then only he will ascertain that the crime or the alleged unnatural act was committed and that the alleged criminal or alleged accused person has to be prosecuted and convicted.
Okay, that means in every case that happens, whether it's an accidental death or murder, this entire event is totally recorded and enacted again.
Perfectly right, perfectly right.
This is what you want to exactly say in every case. So it's quite a tedious task, no?
And therefore, that is the reason why we need multiple factors. No judge will convict only on medical evidence. It is multiple corroborative evidence of multiple persons, the person who saw the incident, the person who has planned, the person conspirator, the forensic toxicology expert, then the forensic scientist, the magistrate. Everybody has to place their views. And what happened when the law was formed at good old times, at that time there were only the black and white photographs.
Okay.
Now the question is that we have advanced to such an extent, we have got the color photography, we have got the videography. So the law also has to be changed, that all these types of evidences have to start from the scene of crime onwards till the culmination of event.
That is because the advancement of technology, right?
Perfectly right.
So that has to be also going hand in hand together with the reading of the law.
Correct.
Am I right? So, Doctor, in recent years, Goa has seen a number of deaths on account of drug overdose. Now, can you tell us how easy is it to establish the cause of death in such a case, especially from the otherwise any other mysterious death, a death caused due to drug overdose or maybe mysterious unnatural death?
As far as intoxication due to drugs or narcotic substances or alcohol or any other substance wherein the person or the perpetrator or the alleged accused has been indulging an act on the victim, this evidence is always to be seen. If the survivor is alive, then the samples are collected from the blood, urine, and they are assessed. The assessment has to be done by the forensic science laboratory at the earliest possible.
When you say earliest possible, what is the time frame? Is it 24 hours, 48 hours? And how authentic are these tests if they go beyond this time limit?
In case the victim is very much alive in the hospital, then no sooner the sample is taken, immediately it has to be forwarded. By immediately, I mean we collect the blood and the urine, we put it in a thermal flask, where the temperature is retained, and forthwith they are to be dispensed to the forensic science laboratory.
Okay, and then immediately the tests are done there.
Yes.
There is also a time frame for that.
Correct. If the person is alive, they have to tell the qualitative and quantitative analysis of the poison.
Okay.
What is the percentage of what type of poison has been taken? Accordingly, the Poison Information Center, which we don't have in Goa, has to monitor the poison and give the specific antidote so that the person who has consumed or has been administered that narcotic substance can be treated and his life can be safeguarded.
Now, doctor, let's begin. Say, for example, a dead body is found in a open field, or maybe a hillock under a tree, or in a water body, or maybe even in a locked room, or in a flat where the person was residing alone. Immediately the police are summoned in such cases. Whoever citizen comes in contact with such a case, first thing he will do is dial the police and get them on the scene. Now, when does the actual legal procedure in such a case begin? Is it from the time the police officer visits this scene where the body is found?
No sooner a complaint is received by the police officer, he is duty bound to make a station diary entry
in his police station?
In the police station.
Okay.
And thereafter he should contact the persons, like for example maybe the owner of the house or the local punches, and thereafter inform the executive magistrate or the subdivisional magistrate or the district magistrate of that area. Okay. And along with him, they are to produce, to go around the scene of crime, along with the forensic medicine expert, forensic scientist, supposing there is something or splashing of the blood or whatever it is, so they have to be picked up. So they have to take a whole team, and that whole team, first it has to be cordoned off the area, and then only they have to visit.
Now, this is quite a revelation, I should say, when you speak about the entire team that has to go together. You said the punchers, the local people, and including the neighbors also, the closest maybe?
Whoever can identify
and the magistrate and all this. So, is this actually happening?
No, it is not happening.
This is not happening in Goa.
As on date. As on date, it is not happening. It happens once in a blue moon in some so-called sensational case where the police officer will think of coordinating with the forensic medicine doctor, and then they will take him only, and maybe they will also skip off because we did not have a forensic scientist laboratory for Goa for quite some time.
For that matter, if the law mandates that these officers should be present in such a case, and we are not doing it, how does it this thing with the law otherwise, when the inquest panchanama is being drawn, and what is the procedure for drawing this inquest panchanama in case of a suspicious death?
All the omissions which are committed by the investigating agency are detrimental for the conviction of the alleged accused person, and that is how most of the accused get a benefit of doubt and acquittal. In fact, every advocate is an officer of the court. Yes. And as an officer of the court, even if he is favoring an alleged criminal, he is adducing the evidence, or he is punching holes into the prosecution witness by cross-examining, and the test of the original statement is ascertained at the time of cross-examination.
In the court?
In the court.
And that is where the actual test is, and then that is how then the sentence is given, am I right? So if you find some loopholes in such a investigation, then certainly the case may go for a acquittal. That is what you exactly want to say. Now, can you tell me, when a dead body is received for post-mortem and without any circumstantial evidence for the particular death that has happened, what are the challenges before your forensic team to actually establish the cause of death?
Normally, whenever we get any dead body for a medico-legal post-mortem examination, we go by the theory of elimination. Elimination means we think every death to be unnatural unless proved otherwise.
So this theory of elimination is executed with every case that talks to you?
In every case.
Now, can you tell in the layman's term for the benefit of our viewers, what exactly is this elimination theory of yours?
Assuming that a person is under the care of a treating doctor and the doctor knew that this person is suffering from, let us say, an endangering condition of life, let's say cancer in last stages, he will die.
Yeah.
Yes. Then, and he dies within a period of 1 week when he has last seen him. Then the doctor is duty bound to issue the medical certificate for the cause of death free of charge for that person after death. And therefore, such a natural death does not go to the police, because the relatives of the deceased person go to the doctor, get the death certificate and do the burial or the cremation according to the rites. But in any case where an individual is found dead under unnatural circumstances or mysterious circumstances, or suddenly a person who's missing was not traceable and then found dead, or like you said earlier, in a room which is locked. Now, is the lock from inside or outside? That is another thing to be determined. So that is the reason why law desires that the executive magistrate, along with the police officer, along with the scientist, photographer, videography, all should go as a team and adduce the evidence which shall be beneficial for reconstruction of the scene of crime before the judicial officer in the court.
So that is the reason why you said a judicial magistrate presence is necessary.
Yes.
So that case is made very watertight, like, when it goes to the court for debate. Now, coming to once again to the forensic team, how does it otherwise establish not only the cause of a person's death, but even the probable time? Sometimes a lot of things are considered about the food that is ingested and the process of digestion and all that stuff. How do you pinpoint this time frame, the time schedule?
The main aim of every medico-legal post-mortem examination is to establish the identity of the person who died. Like if the person is a male, female or a transgender, probable age and the details as far as the pocket contents, so everything is concerned to identify the identity of the person. Then we have to determine the time since death. It is not the actual time, but it is the probable time since death. And lastly, it is the cause, manner of death of the individual. If it is a natural, we will write it as a natural. If it is unnatural, what are the circumstances that led to the cause of death, and what could be the probable weapon and the age of the injuries the person is having on the person. That is our cup of tea. Our job is only based on that.
So even the time frame of the injury, the age of the injury can be established with your analysis in the laboratory. Now, having explained all this thing, I would still want to ask you the other basic parameter that an expert would work on, for a scientific investigation of a suspected murder victim. Specific.
Yeah. Supposing we cannot determine the exact time of death, let us say the body is decomposed, and there are eggs of the flies.
In many cases, it happens like that. The body is found after several hours, 24 hours, 36 hours. Then, of course, the process of decomposition sets in.
So there are either eggs of the flies or maggots. So we collect those samples in a file and we send them to the forensic scientist. Now, the forensic scientist is able to determine the type of blue bottle fly or the bloat fly or the common house fly, and according to that, he is able to fix the exact probable time since death.
So these are the, what you could rather say, the circumstantial evidences when you say about these maggots and blue bottle flies. So they also help the investigation team.
That is called forensic entomology.
Now, when you talk about the circumstantial evidence, sometimes in case of murder, the murderer is smart enough to cover up all the tracks. Then what happens if you are faced with a blind case? Isn't it a difficult proposition for the investigating team? Or is the police have to do the groundwork to find out every small thing that can be found, circumstantial evidence, and then give it to the forensic team to work on?
As I told you earlier, it's a teamwork spirit. Every alleged crime that is committed the person who commits the crime plans it.
Yes.
He plans it, maybe one day planning, or 1 month, 1 year, couple of years. Occasionally it may be a spot incident that at the spur of the moment he committed the crime. The second is the intention, at which part of the body the assailant hit the weapon or assaulted him. Third is the motive. By committing the crime, what did the alleged accused person derive or benefit from it?
Okay.
And lastly is the after effects. After the crime is committed, usually the criminal either remains at the scene of crime or runs away. If he remains at the scene of crime, it is difficult to identify. But the police investigating agency has an eagle eye to trap such type of persons.
Because that is their domain, that is their subject matter to do it. Am I right? To investigate. If the murderer himself is there around the scene. Okay. Now, doctor, coming to collection of certain samples for the forensic study, how do you preserve them and how do you collect them at the site and bring it to your laboratory? Whether it is, say, a blood splatter, tissues, dentures, whatever, maybe nails of the victim, body fluids and all, and how is it preserved till the investigation is completed? It may take some time. It's not a matter of a few hours also. Yeah.
In the past, in the time of the era where the videography was not existing, the poor police officer was at a receiving end. He was the one who was doing the job of the collection of the forensic scientist, because the forensic medicine doctor was also not there at the scene of crime.
Okay.
So he would collect them, preserve them, and get them sealed on the spot before the pancha witnesses and send it to the forensic scientist.
So that was the duty of the
Police officer.
Investigating officer and not of the medical team.
No, because the medical team was never taken. The forensic scientist was not taken. So now I am saying, with the advances that had occurred, when all these experts go, we are in a position to collect. In fact, the forensic scientist takes a team and has a kit how to educe and collect the evidence, how to preserve it, the videography, everything is there, and they are able to get it beyond reasonable doubt.
So there is definitely a very positive development, improvement as far as this entire investigating episode is concerned. You know, you have a full team that goes. It's not like before, where the investigating officer only was responsible to collect the samples and all.
I feel that this vision of yours will be adhered to briefly.
Yeah.
It's not yet being done.
Yet.
All of us are working in airtight compartments. We are not bringing the other people. Like, for example, the executive magistrate or district magistrate prefers not to visit. Only the police officer visits. So the omission. Then only that's due to magisterial inquest, where the death of a woman has occurred within 7 years, then the magistrate will go and conduct the inquest. So these are some lacunas which are still existing
and need to be corrected. Okay, doctor, now in certain cases, sometimes it is said that the actual cause of death is not declared, and the reason given by the police sometimes is that the Viscera report is not received by the investigating officer. Can you tell our viewers how important is this Viscera report in every suspicious death or mysterious death, and what are the final conclusive evidence that you collect from this investigation? Or is it only necessary when the death happens due to a suspected food poisoning? How important is this Viscera report that we talk about? For the common man, it is only a term, medical term. But if you could explain to the viewers in the layman's words, it could be very helpful and educative.
Normally, every person who has died may be either a normal, healthy person or a sick individual who has died. And we as forensic pathologists can see the body and find out whether there was a disease process or whether he was a healthy person.
Okay.
Yes. Now, if he is a healthy person who has died due to suspected poisoning, then we will keep the tissues for histopathological examination, that is to confirm if there is any pathological entity of a disease, as well as we will keep the tissues for chemical analysis of viscera, by which we send them to the forensic science laboratory, and they are able to do the qualitative and quantitative analysis of the poison, and then we will be able to know. If in addition to this there are injuries on the body, we will say what was the duration of the injuries, the age of the injuries, and whether each of the injuries was individually or collectively responsible to accelerate or precipitate the cause of death.
Okay, now when it coming to this investigation of this part of the Viscera report and all, I think it's not done in our laboratories in Goa, is it?
I mean,
because many times we read that it is sent to a lab in Hyderabad, am I right?
Usually,
So,
it goes outside.
It goes out
we
of
have
Goa.
got
Till
a
now we
place.
don't have this expertise.
We have the laboratory, but the persons and the equipment are still not in a full swing to do in a routine in each and every case. So only the cases which are on priority basis, they are sent outside Goa.
Okay.
Because we have to first to take a demand draft and send along with it. And that is the reason why it takes time.
So more or less, how many days or weeks does this particular report take in?
In an ideal hypothetical circumstance, I would feel that no sooner the viscera is collected, it must be preserved in an air-conditioned environment and sent immediately. By immediately, I mean within 1 day to 1 week.
Okay.
Along with the demand draft to the forensic science laboratory. And they in turn should take up the case on priority basis and complete the report within 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay. And then it is sent back to the concerned police station.
Police station gets the report, and then it is produced before the judge and the court.
And so till that time, the case cannot come up for any hearing in the court.
Yes.
For trial, whatever it is. Now, doctor, can you tell our viewers what is the actual role of a forensic expert in the court of law before a trial session with the judge, if at all the case is challenged in the court of law for whatever reasons? Say the family is not happy with the report that has been come out and they still want to go in for further, legal procedures. How does the forensic expert act in the court of law? Because he has to substantiate his findings and justify.
Usually a first post-mortem examination is done by a single doctor.
Okay.
In the event of such an episode occurring where the people have reasons of suspicion as to the cause of death, the second autopsy examination will have to be done by a team of doctors to be instituted by the government appropriate authority. And there, for that, only the magistrate will conduct the inquest, and the whole videography will be conducted of the autopsy examination. And the first autopsy surgeon who has conducted the autopsy will be an observer to see that the exact procedure is adhered to, so that it becomes beneficial and the crux of the crime can be established, or the omissions which were there could be confirmed.
Beyond doubt. Now, this second autopsy, as you spoke, is it ordered by the court or is it ordered by the investigating officer or the higher ups of the police hierarchy?
Usually the superintendent of the police of that area
He has the powers.
He has the power. He will write to the district magistrate, and the district magistrate, either himself or herself, will order the subdivisional magistrate to conduct a thorough inquiry, re-examine the inquest Panchanama, and thereafter do the second autopsy.
So the request for second autopsy goes from the level of the DYSP. And on his advice only, the magistrate will act on it. This is how it normally happens. Now, doctor, supposing, say, there is a clear case of an accidental drowning or an accidental motor accident death, can you tell our viewers why is there a need for conducting a post-mortem when the cause of death is already known? There are eyewitnesses, witnesses, because the common man's opinion here is not divided. First of all, the family of the victim is faced with the trauma of losing a loved one, and then having known that it is the accidental death caused by an accident, or say by drowning or whatever, yet the law mandates that the post-mortem should be done. Can you enlighten our viewers why is this so necessary and compulsory to conduct a post-mortem?
When law was formed, it was desirable that the police officer should investigate into the cause of death before the subdivisional magistrate's consent is given. The consent is given by the subdivisional magistrate for the police officer to go and conduct the inquest. And after doing that, all the formalities, adducing the evidence and witnesses and everything, then he has to give something what is called as final opinion verdict to the magistrate. And then only the magistrate will study the whole process and will pass the final verdict order saying that the death was natural or unnatural, like maybe suicide or accidental or otherwise. In such cases only the case becomes thereafter closed at the office of the subdivisional magistrate.
Okay.
And in any case where the death was supposed to be unnatural and somebody has to be prosecuted for the alleged crime, thereafter the evidence is collected and sent to the judicial magistrate first class, who in turn sends it to the session judge for trial, and then the trial is conducted by the trial session judge, and then the conviction or acquittal is given.
Okay, so that is the reason that a postmortem is
a mandatory.
Now, there's so much of advancement in technology in all the fields of human endeavor, including medical science. Now, can you tell our viewers, how does a forensic expert keep himself updated on the scientific trends that are emerging worldwide? When I say scientific trend, I mean I don't only look at our country, but even foreign land. So, how are those foreign emerging technologies in the field of forensic medicine applied in our country, or say Goa for example? How do they upgrade themselves?
Every doctor has to attend continuing medical education programs. He has to attend the annual conferences of the Indian Academy of Forensic Medicine or the Indian Society of Toxicology, wherein the recent advances which are occurring within the country are taught to us, and that is how we get updated and able to give justice.
So this is once a year or twice in a year, the periodicity of this updating your knowledge?
Minimum is once a year.
Once a year.
But there could be many more.
Okay. Now, doctor, since we are discussing so much about forensic medicine and pathology, can you tell our viewers in layman's term, what is the actual difference between, say, a forensic pathology and a normal clinical pathology where the normal person is always exposed to? We know only about clinical pathology. We may go to a lab and do some investigation. What is the difference between forensic pathology then? The intricacies.
See, a pathology department also conducts clinical pathology examinations. That means if a person is, let us say, for example, a person suffering from cancer and he has got a tumor, cancerous tumor. With the medication, is it shrinking or is it not shrinking? Is that cost medicine effective or not effective? That type of a post-mortem examination is conducted by the by the pathology department, and the pathologist, with the consent of the family members, will certify the clinical cause of death. So that is what is called as pathological post-mortem examination. But we forensic medicine doctors, we conduct the inquest only at request of police or the magistrate. And this is conducted by us and given the report to the investigating agency, and that is how the case of criminal act does occur.
So the forensic department will not accept a request made by the family for a forensic test and nothing like that.
That goes straight away to pathology department.
Exactly. So this is only coming through the official channel, either the magistrate or the police department investigating officer. Am I right?
Correct.
Now, considering all this thing that is happening, not only in Goa, in our country, the crime scenario is changing, the manner in which the crimes are committed are also changing. It is keeping two spaces ahead of the investigating agencies. How big a challenge is a forensic expert facing in present times, where technology is advanced, and with the help of technology, it can also create a stumbling block for the investigation of a crime. In such cases, how does the investigating team, forensic team, look at every individual case?
We are able to adhere to the norms of the law. That is, either any judgment passed by the High Court or Supreme Court becomes binding, it becomes the law of the land. So whatever are the directives, we are able to obey and adhere. Like for example, let us say now that MRI machine has come. There is something what is called as Autopsy. By this, the person's body, like for example in the Muslim country, it will not be touched. It will be only put in that MRI machine, and they will know what was the disease that has resulted in death of a person. Now till today, such an event has not yet occurred in Goa, but it is something in pipeline. We have seen in other countries that is happening. It may come hereafter, it may be the law of the land hereafter, but we are prepared for it. But it is very sad that MRI machine is not available for living people even, because the cost factor is very, very expensive. Or the waiting period is quite long. Will they be able to give us MRI machines for the dead?
That's a big question, a big question mark. Okay, doctor, we have discussed at length so many issues that our viewers will definitely benefit from this discussion. Certain things have come to their knowledge which they were not aware of, and it was not in their domain also. Now, last question I would like to ask you is, what is your advice to our viewers who are watching this program, especially when something like this, crime like this happen? In what manner they can be of help to the state, to the police, to the forensic team?
I would plead the viewers that they have to volunteer to be witnesses. Be truthful, honest witnesses who speak the truth, whole truth and the gospel truth at all times. Because even the evidence what they give to the police officer will be taken the test of the time in the court by the defense advocate. If you are able to stand a cross-examination, that is the crux of the issue. The veracity of the original statement remains sanguine, and the judge is convinced. And with that comes the conviction, and not the type of stock witnesses where we have many a times the witnesses turn hostile, or the same witnesses are coming again and again. We have to do away with it. And that is the reason why I plead with every citizen, please volunteer to be a witness, truthful, honest and integrity, which will stand.
So in other words, the common citizen has a big role to play.
Definitely.
In this particular cases where crime is committed. And they should not fear to come before the law.
Never.
And be a witness. But as you said, speak the truth and nothing but the truth. So, Doctor, it was lovely having you here and having a very fruitful discussion. Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
So, dear viewers, this was Goa's most recognized and adored Dr. Silvano Sapeco, who discussed on our channel the various aspects of medico legal cases, a topic that most of our common people do not know. What are the technicalities involved in such investigations of crime, unnatural deaths? And his one request to our viewers is, come forward to be witnesses. Be a witness and speak nothing but the truth, so that the law takes the right course and helps the law to give the right judgment. Thank you very much.